On a bright midsummer morning, when you take your little girl's hand and walk to school, listening to the birds singing on the way along the narrow footpath, you feel thankful to life that today will be one of your best days, full of joy, just like any other day.
Bu dünya nime diyen güzel ha? Kızım, avı kuşları karan. Ular tinchlikni kuylayotidi. Ular muhabbatni kuylayotidi.
Dada, siz kuşlarning tilini bilamsiz?
Ha kızım, ben kuşlarning tilini bilaman. Ular shundoq erkin. Ular daraxt ustida erkin parvoz qiladi. Ular chegara degan narsani bilmaydi. Ben mushu topda qush bo'lsam, shu yiroqdagi vatanimga parvoz qilib tushsam, shu kasalchan dadamni eng oxirgi bir qatim ko'rib olsam. Kuşlar dadınızdek g'amgin emas. Bu dünya Uyg'urlarga minnat qiladi. Kızım, siz cho'ng bo'lganda qushlarning tilini cho'qim bilasiz.
We meet a lady and her little girl whom I've known for several years. Her name is Lucy. She's French from Nice and she moved to London a few years ago.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Hi.
Hi.
I'm sorry, I was talking to my mom. Today was her 80th birthday.
Wow, how lucky you are able to call to your parents at any time through a video call. Please send our birthday wishes to your mother. I'm really feel jealous. See you later, bye.
We, mama. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I couldn't speak to you early. I was talking to my mom, but you said something I didn't hear clearly. If I didn't mishear, did you actually say how lucky I was to be able to make a telephone call to my parents? I'm not sure what you meant. It sounds like you can't call to your parents. Is it too expensive?
No, Lucy, it's not that simple. Usually when I call my parents, it's cheaper than your call to France. I haven't spoken to my parents for several months, even though my father is very ill. And I stopped calling my other relatives, friends, for many years now. Do you know? Things going on like this, unbearable now. And I called my mom last time, and she answered the phone, and she asked
In the
me
last
not to
few
call.
weeks, especially after my father's illness had worsened, the last telephone conversation with my parents kept echoing in my head.
Balam. Biz yaxşı tutuq balam. Yaxşı. Atınızın ensirmen. Atınız. Yakın küllerde sıtka minip çıkamaz bu kaldı. Ha, doğrusunu. Kündüz şüküz vatı ben balam. Şüküz vatı ben. Kozam, sizin könlünüz yerim bulmuşsun dep, men bu gapni sizga aytmagan edim. Hozirga qadar 2 yil bo'lib oshdi. Har haftaning oxirida shu siz telefon qilgandan keyinla mahalladagi soqchilarga ashlarning talabi bo'yicha sizning telefon qilganligingizni telefon qilib Məlum kelivatatdım. Bu mu ulağı yetmegen oxşaydı. Cinim balam. Men kanaat kaldım o altınım. Her ya bosa Allah'ın yeri. Ben sizden min mertebe razı balam. Siz ballarınız bilen hatırcam bəxtlik yaşsınız. Ben hatırcam bulmam balam. Sizni Allah'a tapşırdım. Yalnızım. Çinim balam.
Police told my mother not to answer her son's calls. And they said there was an order from the regional police department. Nobody should take international call. Police told my mother she should obey this rule. If she didn't, she would be punished. Probably you can't quite believe what I have told you. This is just a drop in the ocean of the troubles of the Uighur people. These troubles began when we became a so-called ethnic minority of the People's Republic of China. In many ways, we just like Tibet. We live under colonial rule. And I was born in that country. I grew up there. That country called East Turkestan. It was occupied by China in 1949. You know, I had lots of troubles and I was forced to leave the country for my own safety. And I arrived to the UK as a political refugee.
If you like, we can talk about this again on another day. Actually, I have a journalist friend. She is very interested in politics in Asia. If you want to give her an interview about current situation in your country, I would be happy to do something to help Uyghurs. It's so shocking what's happening with them right now.
Thank you very much. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Not at all.
Lucy.
Take
Thank
care of yourself.
You too.
See
Have
you
a nice day.
soon.
See you soon.
Now my mother is getting older. She has fading memories of her life. She told me once that during the years of the commune, she suffered badly after a donkey cart accident. She was working in the commune's fields, sticking portraits of Chairman Mao around the edge of the field. My mother has seen a lot in her 76 years. She witnessed famine in her early teens during the war to support North Korea against American imperialism. She saw many other revolutions and campaigns. The great leap forward of the late 1950s, when we were supposed to overtake capitalist England in steel production, and Mao's great cultural revolution that started in 1966 and lasted for 10 years. I was born right in the height of the Cultural Revolution. On that day in the afternoon, she was sent to work to another field. She was heading there with me on the donkey cart when a military jeep came rushing along the road, blowing up a storm of dust. The donkey became agitated and the cart turned over on the road. She was trapped under that cart, and her backbone was fractured. She couldn't get the proper treatment for it at the time, and much later, in the early 90s, her back problems got worse and she couldn't walk. After borrowing a lot of money from the bank, she had several operations. And now she lives with a 10 centimeter long steel rod inside her to support her back.
Tağladen makan tuttuk ay Bağladen orun tegmey Kügen künümüz muşu Rekke buyun egmey liven yala.
On the 3rd of November 2017, I heard through a friend that my father had died 4 days before that. But I was not able to go to his funeral, and I haven't been able to speak to my grieving mother ever since. I arrived in this great city of London when I was nearly 30 years old. At that time, I was an ambitious young man, full of optimism and hope for the future. I wanted to defend and campaign for the rights of the Uyghur people. I expected that the life of Uyghurs would change for the better. But year after year, I only saw worse things happening to my people. What could I do for my people to improve their rights? Nothing. And now I had become so powerless that I couldn't even protect my own right to speak to my parents, and had no idea whether they were dead or alive.
Dad,
How are you, my baby?
I have some good news to tell you.
Yeah, good. Let's talk inside.
Dad, in our geography lesson, we had a new teacher. He asked us to tell everyone in which country our parents originally come from, and then describe its landscape and climate. I began to get worried when my turn was coming up. I thought, if I say my dad comes from East Turkestan, then if my teacher has never heard of it, I might get embarrassed in front of my friends. But I knew that I can't say my dad comes from China. When my turn came, I said that my dad comes from East Turkestan, and it's the country that doesn't have independence. I told them it is the north of Tibet, east of Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, and the northwest China. It has mountains and deserts, and it's 7 times bigger than the UK. And I was so lucky. Our teacher shook my hand and said, I have never met anyone from East Turkestan before. A pleasure to meet you. Now, I don't have to worry to explaining my friends where my dad comes from.
Wow. My clever girl. I am proud of you. You know that your daddy can't live without his past. It's his identity. It's his everything. East Turkestan is an occupied country that belongs to your father and his children and grandchildren.
Hi, Aziz. Do you have time for interview tomorrow?
Yes, no problem. Thank you, Lucy. See you tomorrow.
Okay, bye.
To talk a bit more then about the situation facing the Uyghur Muslims in China, we can cross now to London and talk to Aziz Isa El-Kun. Good afternoon to you and thank you for joining us on the programme. The situation then of hundreds of thousands of people living in these camps in Xinjiang is little understood.
I am an only child of my parents. In November 2016, after hearing that my father's health was deteriorating, then I applied for a visa on humanitarian grounds from the Chinese embassy in London. But my visa application was refused. On 3rd November 2017, I heard through a friend that my father had died 4 days ago. But I was not able to go my father's funeral. I hadn't been able to speak to my grieving elderly mother since then. I am a British citizen of the free world, but I am not free. My human rights are still being violated. I wrote this real story a year ago, but the scenario of the unanswered telephone call still continues. All communications between home and abroad for the Uyghurs has been cut off. And I don't know my mother still alive or dead. Since then, I haven't been able to speak to my mother. The continuing political oppression and human rights abuse in East Turkestan, or Uyghur Autonomous Region in China, has reached its peak after New Year in 2018. I learned through Western media that over 2 million Uyghurs were being sent to the Chinese concentration camps. There are reporters of many deaths came out from the camps. Now, Uyghurs are on the edge of disappearing from this world. Humanity is crying out in every minute in East Turkestan. And the Uyghurs need your support.
Küçük bal oynaydı al çevir ot idi Musafir yığlaydı öz yurti